Have you ever ignored a whisper from within? Only to realize later it was never just a thought, it was a warning? A signal? A quiet voice that saw what you couldn't? This is not just a story. It's a remembering. Because if you're here, watching this, you've already felt it. The pull. The pause. The knowing that doesn't speak in words, but in sensations, a chill on your skin, a tightness in your chest, a sudden shift in the energy of a room. At the end of this video, I'll share something many never realize about their own inner voice, a secret that could change how you attract love, truth, and peace. Forever. But first, we have to talk about what happens when you don't listen. It starts quietly. A missed opportunity. A strange sense of heaviness. Maybe a relationship that doesn't feel quite right. But you stay. Maybe a job that drains your spirit. But you explain it away. You tell yourself, I'm just tired, or it's not the right time, or I'm probably overthinking. But your intuition? It never whispers without reason. When you ignore your intuition, the universe doesn't punish you, it redirects you. But that redirection often looks like chaos. Things fall apart. The person you trusted betrays you. The path you invested years in disappears. You call it bad luck. You call it heartbreak. But it was guidance in disguise. See, intuition is not logical. It doesn't need evidence. It simply knows. And yet, we've been taught to doubt it. We've been trained to trust facts over feelings, strategy over spirit. We've learned to silence the very compass that was designed to protect us. The first time you feel it, really feel it, is often after something breaks. And in the silence that follows, you remember, you knew. You knew before the lie was told. Before the betrayal unfolded. Before the dream crumbled. You knew. But you stayed quiet. You kept walking. You hoped it would go away. It didn't. Because the soul doesn't shout, it waits. And when it's ignored too long, it retreats. It lets you fall. Not to punish you, but to wake you. And that fall? That's where the story truly begins. But what happens when you ignore it? When you silence that quiet voice? When you rationalize away the signals? When you choose logic over resonance again and again? You begin to feel misplaced. Not lost, exactly, just slightly off. As if your life is almost yours, but not quite. Like you're living inside a version of yourself that someone else designed. You wake up tired, even after sleeping. You go through routines that once felt exciting, now dulled by repetition. You smile at the right moments, say the right words, but deep inside, something is aching. It's not a loud ache. It's subtle. A whisper of dissatisfaction. A question that refuses to die, is this really it? This is what happens when intuition is ignored. It doesn't scream. It fades. And in that fading, you start making choices that pull you further from your path. You say yes to things that drain you. You stay in relationships that quietly suffocate you. You pursue goals that no longer light you up, just because they look good on paper. And slowly, the colors of your life begin to desaturate. People say, you're doing great. But you feel numb. The joy feels artificial. The ambition feels forced. Even moments of success come with a strange emptiness, as if you're watching someone else live your life. But here's the beautiful truth, intuition doesn't abandon you. Even in silence, it waits. It waits for the moment you become still enough to hear again. It waits through your detours, your denials, your delays. It waits, not with judgment, but with love, like an old friend who always knew you'd come home eventually. And when you do, when you stop, when you breathe, when you ask with your heart instead of your head, it responds. Not always with clarity. Sometimes with a symbol. A dream. A stranger's sentence. A sudden emotion. But always with precision. Always with love. And it doesn't just tell you what to do, it reminds you who you are. Because intuition isn't a tool. It's a mirror. A mirror that reflects not your face, but your essence. When you return to it, you return to yourself. Alignment isn't just a feeling, it's a frequency. When you're aligned with your intuition, life doesn't suddenly become easy. But it becomes true. Conversations feel more meaningful. Choices feel clearer. Even the struggles feel sacred, like they're sculpting you into something honest. You begin to sense the subtle rhythms of existence. A phone rings just as you're thinking of someone. A stranger's words echo the exact thoughts you've kept hidden. A song plays that stirs a memory you didn't know you needed. These are no longer coincidences, they're confirmations. Confirmations that the veil is thinning, that you're tuning into something beyond logic, beyond time. You've entered the space where the soul whispers louder than the mind. And when this happens, people around you notice. They sense the shift. They say, "You've changed," but they can't quite explain how. It's in your eyes. In the way you pause before speaking. In the peace that clings to your presence like a fragrance they can't name. You're no longer operating from a place of fear or performance. You're operating from presence. This is what true alignment brings, not perfection, but peace. A quiet inner knowing that you're exactly where you're meant to be, even if it looks nothing like what you planned. The need to chase fades. You stop chasing outcomes, timelines, approval. You start attracting, magnetizing experiences and people that resonate with your frequency. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're finally being. You say yes to what feels aligned, even if it terrifies you. You say no to what drains your soul, even if it pleases everyone else. You stop asking for permission. You stop explaining your path. You just walk it. And something extraordinary happens, your life begins to reflect your truth. The external slowly aligns with the internal. It may not happen overnight, but it begins. A job offer that feels right. A relationship that heals. A creative idea that blossoms out of nowhere. These are the echoes of your alignment. You realize that the universe isn't punishing or testing you, it's mirroring you. The more you listen to your soul, the clearer the path becomes. The more you trust the silence between moments, the louder the guidance gets. And in that silence, you hear the most beautiful thing, your own voice. The voice that was buried under expectations, fears, and noise. The voice that has waited patiently for you to come home. To return. To remember. Because you were never truly lost, only distracted. But what happens when you drift again? Because you will. Even the most awakened souls do. You'll hear the whisper of your intuition. And still choose silence. You'll feel the nudge. And still walk the other way. And in those moments, the doubt returns. Maybe I imagined it, you think. Maybe I was wrong. But you weren't wrong. You were just tired. Distracted. Human. Intuition isn't about perfection, it's about returning. Again and again. With gentleness. With humility. It's a practice, not a performance. There will be days when your vision blurs, when clarity escapes you. That's not failure. That's the moment you get to pause, breathe, and reattune. The universe never punishes you for forgetting. It simply waits, patiently, until you're ready to remember. And you will remember. You'll remember in the quiet moment when you finally stop fighting and simply feel. You'll remember in the tear that falls without needing a reason. You'll remember in the smile that breaks through grief like sunlight through storm clouds. You'll remember because the truth doesn't disappear, it rests. Like a compass beneath the chaos, always there, ready to point north when you're willing to stop spinning. And when you do, everything softens. You forgive yourself. Not just for missing the signs, but for ever thinking you had to be anyone other than who you truly are. You forgive others, too. Not because they deserve it, but because your peace deserves it. You realize that some people are meant to be chapters, not constants. lessons, not lifelines. You release with grace, not bitterness. Because now you trust, whatever is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself. This is the quiet revolution of intuitive living. You're no longer living for the approval of the world. You're living in alignment with the whisper that's been guiding you since the beginning. Even before the noise. Even before the wounds. And in that alignment, a new path unfolds. One that doesn't always look logical, but feels undeniably right. You no longer need proof, you have presence. You no longer chase signs, you are the sign. And now, you return. Not to who you were, but to who you've always been beneath the noise. This final phase of intuitive awakening is not about becoming more, but becoming clear. Clear in your energy. Clear in your yes. Clear in your no. You're no longer looking for signs, you are the sign. You walk into a room and shift its frequency. Not because you're trying to be powerful, but because you're finally at peace. And peace is contagious. This is when life becomes less about destination, and more about presence. You're not obsessed with figuring everything out anymore. You're in tune with the unfolding. You know that not everything needs an answer, some things need space. You give yourself that space. To breathe. To feel. To pause. To live without rushing. Others may call it detachment. You call it devotion to your truth. And Hayrace, the most sacred realization of all. Your intuition was never separate from the universe. It is the voice of the universe, whispered uniquely through your soul. The guidance you've been waiting for was always encoded within you. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were meant to listen. And now that you are, you become the guide. Not by teaching, but by embodying. Your calm becomes an anchor for others. Your clarity becomes a mirror. Your alignment becomes an invitation. Come home to yourself. This is where the journey turns into a rhythm. Not a path with an end, but a pulse you live by. Your intuition keeps evolving. Deeper. Wider. Softer. Stronger. And every time you trust it, even when it scares you, the universe meets you there. Not with fireworks. But with alignment. The right word. The right person. The right moment. Over and over. Like a sacred echo. So if you've watched this far, it's no accident. Your soul is remembering. You're not here to copy anyone's path. You're here to follow your own signal, loud or quiet, strange or subtle, chaotic or calm. This is your sign. This is your knowing. And if this voice feels like it's speaking from some part of you that's been waiting to be heard, stay. Subscribe. Because this journey, it's just beginning. And every video is a step deeper into the mystery of who you truly are. Until next time. Trust your timing. And trust your truth.